Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by iFixit. You can fix it, and iFixit makes it easy with free step-by-step repair guides, high-quality replacement parts, and all the tools you'll ever need. For $10 off your purchase of $50 or more, go to ifixit.com/twit and enter the code KNOWHOW at checkout. And by Full Sail University. Full Sail offers both online and campus degree programs centered on real-world experiences in the entertainment, media, arts, and technology industries. For more information, visit fullsail.edu/knowhow. On this episode of Know-How, downloading YouTube videos, freaking tractor beams, and putting Plex Media Server on your free NAS. Welcome to Know-How. It's the Twitch show where we bend, build, break, and upgrade. I'm Father Robert Balacer.
And I'm Brian Burnett.
For the next half hour or so, we're going to show you some of the projects that we've been tinkering around with, so hopefully you can fill your Uber Geek stocking with some gifts from Naughty Geeks.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, Brian, quick question.
Uh-oh.
You like tractor beams?
Tractor beams?
Tractor beams. Yeah, like Star Trek, Star Wars, tractor beams.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
Course, totally.
It's kind of a cool concept, but one of the things has been, how do you get something to come closer to you by throwing energy at it? It's
right.
very counterintuitive. It doesn't seem to make sense. In fact, it doesn't seem to be possible at all.
No.
Or is it? Yeah, we got a story here from some researchers in Scotland from the Dundee University who are experimenting with arrays of ultrasound energy emitters, and they found a curious effect. When they took a triangular hollow object, a little shape, put it in water with 1,000 of these ultrasonic transmitters stacked up on each other, they were able to direct twin beams of energy towards the object and create an area of low pressure. Think about that. It's like a plane. It's like the Bernoulli effect when you fly. The idea of if you have a lot of energy going to one region, it creates turbulence, enough turbulence to drop the ambient pressure, which draws the object forward.
Wow.
Now, the reason why they use that triangular hollow object is that the waves actually converge at the rear of the object and push off the back. So it's like you're adding a little engine to the back of the object
to propel it towards yourself.
Which is propelling it into that area of low pressure. It's actually very cool technology.
That is the thing I love most, is that the sci-fi that inspired us as kids is slowly becoming reality.
It's slowly.
And Scottish engineers are pioneering a tractor beam.
I mean, there's all sort of Star Trek analogies there. Yeah.
Do they need more power? Because we should do that.
We should do that. Well, okay. Well, here's the thing. It worked on a very small scale with a tiny little object with very little power inside of a close water-filled system.
Okay, so it's very specific.
It's very, it's not like
we're using satellites to pull things towards each other. No.
They're not going to be dropping one of these on an aircraft carrier in the near future for towing.
But by the time we have an Enterprise-class starship, we should have the technology.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's what I'm counting on. No, but I mean, let's get real practical. You could use this technology in, say, surgery. If you have a device that could pull objects away from a certain piece of a certain coordinate, you suddenly have something that is even better than a scalpel. I mean, you could be pulling out tumors, pulling out cancerous regions with no surgery whatsoever.
Wow, that would be awesome.
That's actually kind of cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that idea of that application, but also, ultimately, I just want to be able to like pull things out of space.
Yeah, well, there's, as Untoward in the chat room points out, the other problem with that is it creates a region of low pressure, which is what allows the effect. There's no pressure.
Right. Well, we'll figure that out later. The details.
So first we throw pressure.
We gotta make baby steps.
Throw pressure at the ship, and
then draw it towards us.
I don't know if that's gonna work out.
That is so cool, though.
It is cool, and like you said, you know, it's our childhood sci-fi fantasy coming true. So that's always cool.
I mean, they used tricorders in Star Trek, and then eventually we had the cell phone. So
why not?
Why not tractor beams?
Yeah.
And lasers.
Yeah. Now, a few few episodes ago, we did cover FreeNAS, building a FreeNAS, but in this episode, we want to show you how to use your FreeNAS to become a self-contained, super organized, fully functional media server.
Ooh.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, I like that, especially the organized part.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do that, but before we do that, I thought maybe we should take a moment to talk a little bit about one of our sponsors, and that, of course, is iFixit. Brian, you know what this is? I
do. I have become very familiar with that kit as I have taken many things apart here in the studio.
It's an iFixit twitkh toolkit. The cool thing about that is it's smaller than the big one. Remember, you know, the big toolkit that we've been using the last couple of months. It includes just the tools that the twitkh engineers thought you would need the most. Now, iFixit.com is the free online repair manual for everything. They have more than 10,000 repair guides from everything from electronics, like your smartphone, tablet, and game consoles, to your home appliances, clothing, and even your bike. They also have foolproof instructions to fix all your stuff. If you've shattered your iPhone screen, need to repair the red ring of death on your Xbox, or swap the battery on your Galaxy S3, iFixit has got it covered with parts, tools, and repair guides. Now, you are showing off this new iFixit toolkit, the smaller set, which is nice because it does include these high durability drivers, all with carbide tips so that they don't chip, they don't wear out quite as easily. Now, these 15 screwdrivers were specifically chosen by the iFixit teardown team as the ones that will be most used in any repair or teardown. They are designed for heavy use and delicate precision. They have fixed blade swivel top designs for added precision, and it has that custom tool roll that makes it handy, nice, and easy to put into your pack. Now, what I really like about this is it comes with a lifetime warranty. If you break one of these, if it wears down, if it chips, send it back to iFixit, and they'll give you a new one. At $59.95, I'm thinking, Brian, that this is probably the kit that I'm going to ask my parents to get me for my birthday.
Oh, yeah?
Because I could use a new tool. The toolkit I'm using is like 20 years old.
Oh, I could totally see myself getting this for my dad and then just say, hey, Dad, can I, Happy Father's Day.
Yeah,
and
can I
borrow this to take your stuff apart now?
Now, it's not just a toolkit. This is the other thing that we've been playing with. This is their magnetic mat. This is actually a really good idea. Of course, your brother has
drew some weird cat thing
a little bit of art, but it is dry erase. So it uses just any standard dry erase marker, and the idea is you can mark down quadrants where you have put the different pieces from your build, and this is a magnetic mat, or you could play tic-tac-toe, so it will hold your screws there. We use this for the teardown of the Game Boy. I've used it for teardown of computers. It really is one of these things that it just made sense. It's strange that it took iFixit to come up with this idea. That magnetic surface will hold your tiny screws, your springs in place, and it's safe for hard drives. I've actually parked a couple of hard drives on top of this and other modern electronics. It's only $19.95, and it's the perfect companion for your iFixit 15-piece toolkit. So here's what we want you to do. With iFixit, you can fix it yourself. Visit ifixit.com/twit for more than 10,000 free step-by-step guides. iFixit also sells every part and tool that you'll ever need. Enter the code KNOWHOW at checkout and you'll save $10 off on any purchase of $50 or more. That's ifixit.com/twit. And we thank iFixit for their support of Know-How. Can I have this?
I guess so.
It's mine now.
It's probably safer that you take it away because I'm going to eventually take something apart again.
Well, actually, how are those GoPro cameras going?
That original GoPro is not coming back.
Folks, just so you know, iFixit, the toolkit's really good at taking it apart. Look at their manuals for putting stuff back together.
Right. Don't just go rogue.
You kind of did that. Yeah. Now let's get to this. All right. So this is the FreeNAS box that I showed off with Patrick Norton.
Yeah. So this was a really cool project that you guys did together, and you showed how to set it all up, but what are we going to do now?
Well, there's a few things that we want to do first. We want to remind people how we created this, because there are a few considerations that you must hold in the back of your mind when you're setting up a FreeNAS box. There are a lot of people out there who say, oh, I'll just take any crappy old computer I have and I'll put FreeNAS on it.
Right.
You can do that, but I wouldn't. Because remember, this is something that you're going to be storing your data on, right?
Right.
You don't want it to go belly up. So don't just take the oldest piece of hardware you have and dedicate it for a FreeNAS box.
That PC that you've had sitting in the back of your garage that's been collecting dust.
Right. Now, there are a few things about this. we really don't care about video performance. This is not a gaming machine, right? So you'll notice that in this machine, if you go back to the overhead shot, there's no video card. I'm using the integrated graphics because that's all I need. In fact, I really don't need that. Once I have the operating system installed,
you're not going to have a monitor even hooked up
I'm just
to
going to be using the web interface,
Right.
right? There are a few things we do care about. The first thing is we care about the CPU. We want a 64-bit CPU because we can address more memory with 64-bit CPUs, so it can't be too old.
Because you can't use over, was it
4 gigabytes.
4 gigabytes?
Yeah.
Oh man,
so
that was a long time ago.
That's bad. You know, you also want something with enough horsepower to be able to run the plugins that you're going to install eventually.
Right, which there's a lot of really cool ones that Patrick and you guys kind of showed off.
Yeah, there's some great plugins, but if you like, again, you recycle that old 386.
Not going to be able to do it.
You're not going to be able to do it. Yeah, and also the ZFS, the zettabyte file system, which is fantastic, high performance, but it does require a lot of CPU power to maintain the array. So if you choose a low-powered CPU, you're going to spend all your CPU cycles just organizing the array and no power left over for plugins.
Right. So I imagine the next step would be getting a USB drive to install the OS?
Absolutely. So a lot of, we actually got some feedback on this last time when we did this. People were saying, well, why did you use a USB drive? Why not use a hard drive? Okay. Let's settle this once and for all.
All right.
FreeNAS is a tiny operating system. It's super tiny. It fits on a flash drive. This is a 16 gigabyte flash drive. This is actually way bigger than what you need. FreeNAS downloads I can't even remember how big it is. It's tiny. It's like 20 megabytes or something like that. And it can install off of a CD-ROM. Once it installs off the CD-ROM, you really don't need to do much more with that hard drive.
Right.
But you can't use it for anything else. So if you use a 1 terabyte rotating drive to install,
you're just wasting it.
You just wasted 99.99% of it.
Right. So you can't even partition it.
You can't even partition it. That's the only thing that drive will ever do. The other thing is this. When you're using a hard drive, it's always spinning.
So if you're using flash memory, that would be more advisable because
it lasts longer.
Exactly.
Right, because a rotating drive will eventually die. It will eventually shake itself to pieces. A USB drive or any flash memory is only being worn down when you write.
Right.
And once FreeNAS finishes installing the operating system and your plugins, it's not really doing much writing. It's doing reading. And this could read for the rest of its life and never wear down.
Right. And it's a lot easier to find a 16 gigabyte or 8 gigabyte flash drive that you're not using than a
100 megabyte
bigger
hard drive.
spinning hard drive.
Right. And it uses a lot less power, which we want because remember, this is going to be running 24/7. You want something that's a bit more frugal with the power.
Something that doesn't generate a lot of heat, something that doesn't take up a lot of power. Yep. Okay. Cool.
Now you also notice if you go to the overhead shot in here, you see I showed a quick tip on this. I've hot glued the USB drive into just a header. It's totally not neat, but it works.
Yeah.
The cool thing about this is by not having the USB drive on the outside,
less chance of it getting knocked off.
Yeah, and it's actually hot glued in there, so it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's not.
It doesn't need to be pretty either. I mean, it just sits in there. But yeah, that's better. I've seen USB drives that you don't want it hanging out off the edge.
Someone could knock it and you're dead. Yeah. The other thing is by using a USB drive, I free up the SATA port that would normally be connected to the hard drive. And I want that. I want my SATA ports for all the hard drives I'm going to put in here.
Very clever, Padre.
Right. Now there are 4 SATA headers on this motherboard, so I could put 4 drives. I've also got this, which would add 2 more drives. I could put 2 of these cards in here. This is just a standard PCI SATA adapter. So in total, I could put up to 8 drives in this case if I had the bays for it. This case doesn't quite.
Now, would you want that many drives for redundancy? So that you're...
Yeah. So if you're going to create an array like this, you're not just thinking about having as much space as possible. You want there to be some sort of redundancy when drives fail, because they will fail.
Yes, all mechanical, spinning, rotating drives will fail eventually, yes.
Right. So typically what I do, because I care about performance, I will let FreeNAS create a mirrored stripe. So it's 2 drives together for a stripe, but then it's mirrored for redundancy. So I get performance and I get redundancy. I get reliability. I lose up a lot of space. I lose a lot of space because of the 4 drives, I'm really only getting the space of 2.
Right.
But it's worth it because I don't like losing stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's like the most heartbreaking thing is when you go back to try and find some family videos or something like that. It's like, oh, I only backed them up once.
Okay, you know, come on. I'm sure your son will grow up again.
If I had one, or my corgi.
I'm sure your corgi will grow up again. It's okay. Now, here's actually a big one. And we didn't cover this last time. Power supply.
Yeah, because you don't want that to die.
Don't cheap out on the power supply. You know how many times I've seen FreeNAS boxes where they've bought really good drives, they've bought a great motherboard, a really solid ECC, error-correcting memory, they've got a powerful CPU, and then they bought like the bargain basement $15 400-watt power supply.
The one that's going to burn out when you least want it to.
Exactly. And here's the worst part. If a power supply goes down, at best, you don't get your data until you replace it.
At worst, it could blow up everything.
Stuff up, right. A power supply that goes bad, that actually blows, it blows its caps, can surge power through everything and just kill it, and suddenly you've just killed.
I had an experience with that. It was actually Alex, when he built his, I think it was his first PC he built, the first power supply he had, it wasn't like a cheapo one, but it like shot sparks out the back of it and stuff. So I mean, you don't need a lot of power for this, though. So
yeah, okay, so when you're looking at your power budget, what you're typically looking at is somewhere between 50 and 200 watts for the motherboard, the CPU, and you're not going to put a video card on it, so for that's you know, really 50 to 200 is what you're looking at. Right. You're also going to be looking at about 30 watts for each hard drive. It doesn't actually use that. Most hard drives will pull somewhere between 5 and 9 watts while in operation, 20 while really cranking. But you need 30 because they use more power when they start up.
Oh,
so you need a power supply that can handle the startup.
Okay.
Right. So you just add it up. You talk about 30 watts per hard drive. You're talking about, on the safe side, 200 watts for the motherboard. And that gives you your round number of how large you need to size your power supply.
Okay. And this is probably a machine you're going to leave on nearly all the time.
Nearly all the time, yeah.
Right, so...
Yeah. There are some, if you can find one of those power supplies that has dual modules, that's great. I mean, those are crazy expensive, but they're nice because it gives you, if one module dies, the other one keeps powering the system. You just hot swap it.
Okay.
But those are kind of, yeah, those are expensive. And by that time, you might as well just buy one off the shelf.
Yeah. So then, all right, we've talked about getting the OS onto the machine, what kind of drives you want to use, how much power it's going to use, what kind of specs are we looking at for good performance?
Okay. So this box uses an Intel Core 2 Duo, so it's a dual-core CPU. I've only got 4 gigabytes of memory in here. I don't like that. You really should have 8. 4 is, I'd say, it's the absolute minimum. We're going to be chugging along on some of the plugins. I would prefer this be 8, but unfortunately I couldn't find my memory modules for this motherboard. Okay. I'm using integrated video. I've got gigabit Ethernet also integrated. I've got a CD-ROM that I use to install the operating system, but I don't need that. I'm going to pull that out if I need it for the drives.
Right.
Because once the OS is installed, I'm never going to use it again.
Don't need to worry about it, yeah.
Right. I've also got the 8 gigabyte USB flash drive that's been hot glued into the case, and I've got 2 1 terabyte Seagate drives. Now, if I was making a dedicated NAS for myself, I would probably put 2 4 gigabyte Western Digital red drives in here.
Oh, right. Because those were the lower. They
run
cool,
that
they
cooler,
run cool,
right?
And they use less power.
Right. And they're designed for NAS.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, they would last longer.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So that's our box. But now we need to know about putting a media plug-in on this. So if you've got a FreeNAS box, folks, this is how you install Plex.
The first step in creating your FreeNAS Plex media server is to prepare it by creating a volume, 2 datasets, and a share. Click the Storage tab from the main menu. You'll see 2 options, UFS Volume Manager and ZFS Volume Manager. UFS uses fewer resources than ZFS, making it ideal for lower-powered systems, but it's not as robust as ZFS, and you can't use it for plugins. Click ZFS Volume Manager and give your new volume a name. I'm calling mine Cranky Volume. Click the plus to add all available disks to the volume. Our machine has 2 1 terabyte drives, so FreeNAS will automatically select a mirror as the optimal layout. Don't mess with this unless you really know what you're doing. Even then, don't mess with it unless other people think you know what you're doing. Even then, don't mess with it unless those other people who think you know what you're doing actually know what they're doing. In other words, don't mess with it. Click Add Volume. Once the volume has been created, you'll see it added to your active volumes list. Select the volume you just made and click the Create ZFS Dataset icon on the menu bar towards the bottom of the volume. A window named Create ZFS Dataset will pop open. Give your new dataset a name. I'm calling mine Cranky Media, and click Add Dataset. We now need to set permissions. Permissions tells the FreeNAS operating system who should have access to the dataset we just created. Select your newly created dataset and click the Change Permissions icon on the menu towards the bottom of the screen. The Change Permissions window will pop open. In the Mode section, check the Write box under the Other mode. Then click the Change button. We're doing this so that guests can add media files to your dataset. If this is not a new installation and you're using a previously created dataset, you should enable the Set Permission Recursively option so that proper permissions will be given to older files. We just created a dataset for our media, but now we need another dataset to hold our plugins. Select the volume, and it's important that you select the volume and not the dataset that you created earlier. Remember that mine was called Cranky Volume, and click Create ZFS Dataset on the menu towards the bottom of the screen. As before, the Create ZFS Dataset window will pop open. Name your new dataset and click Add Dataset. Technically, what we're doing is creating a jail for our plugin information, so I called my new volume Cranky Jails. Now click the Jails tab on the main menu. In the section called Jail Root, browse through the file tree to find the path to the dataset you just created to hold your plugin information. In our case, the path was root/mount/crankyvolume/crankyjails. Click Save. You've created a volume, 2 datasets, and told FreeNAS where to put plugins. Now we need to create a sharing tree. On the left side of the main menu, you'll see the Sharing tab drop-down. This is where you choose the sharing options that work for your networking clients. There will be 3 options available to you: Apple AFP Share, Unix NFS Share, and Windows CIFS or CIFS Share. I typically use CIFS or SAML because most every operating system knows how to use them. You can get OS-specific performance boost by using AFP and NFS, but if you want the maximum compatibility possible, and trust me, you do, use CIFS. Expand the Sharing drop-down on the left side of the main menu, then expand the Windows CIFS Shares tab. Click Add Windows CIFS Shares. The Add Windows CIFS Share window will pop up. Give the share a name. I'm calling my share Cranky Share. In the Path section, browse to the dataset you created to hold your media. In our case, the path would be root/mount/crankyvolume/crankymedia. Scroll down and enable Allow Guest Access. This will allow anonymous users on your network to read the media files in your share. You can lock this down later to restrict access, but we're just trying to get the share up and running. Click OK. A window will open asking if you want to enable the service. Click Yes. Woot! Your FreeNAS dataset is now accessible by any computer on your network using the CIFS protocol. You just created a usable volume, dataset, and share, but now you need to connect and copy to that share. I'm going to show you how to access and fill the media server using a Windows machine, but you can use any OS that speaks the CIFS protocol. Just substitute your access method for mine. Open Windows Explorer and type / and then the IP address of your FreeNAS. You'll see the share that you just created. You can now drag and drop your media directly into your FreeNAS share. Copy your files, and be quick about it.
So that's really part one. I mean, you need to be able to set up the FreeNAS. You need to be able to set the permissions. You need to be able to create the volume, the data set, the share, and then load it up with stuff.
Well, I appreciate that it was a cranky NAS.
Well, yeah, cranky, naturally, right? Especially the Cranky Jails part. You know.
Yeah, that had a good ring to it. Yeah.
Now, this is all because we want to create a repository of knowledge, right? I mean, we want some place where we could just go and have an easy-to-access index of everything, every piece of content that we have, which is always good.
Stream it, too.
Stream it, right. But I'd say that trying to get a repository of knowledge is always a good thing, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know who else is a good repository of knowledge?
Full Sail?
Yeah, Full Sail University. Now, we here at Know How, we're all about you learning online. I mean, that's why you come to watch the show.
And continue learning.
And continue learning, right? Because you're never done being a student.
No. Yeah, the day you stop learning is the day you die.
or the day that you sit down in front of the TV and eat Doritos and watch cartoons. But either way, don't do that. Instead, check out Full Sail. We're happy to have Full Sail as a sponsor of Know How because they understand that in this world of fast-moving technology, you always have to be a student. Now, big data, the information gathered through business technology and processes, provides companies with tremendous potential when it comes to how they make their decisions. It also creates a need for skilled professionals who can translate this information into strategies and results. Well, Full Sail University understands that. They offer you an online master's degree program in business intelligence, which can lead you to the skill set needed to become a professional in the growing career field of big data. In their accelerated master's program, you'll learn how to collect, manage, mine, analyze, and interpret big data through the industry tools, software, and technologies. You'll also be able to demonstrate your abilities as a business intelligence professional by conducting your own research and presenting your findings and recommendations, giving you experience that you can take out into the real world. Full Sail University's online and campus degree programs are centered on real-world education and experience with industry technology and workflow. Through their innovative curriculum, you can earn your master's degree in just 12 months. So here's what we want you to do. If you want to keep learning, if you want to keep expanding your horizons, if you want to keep growing your potential, well then try Full Sail University. In addition to business intelligence, Full Sail University offers a variety of master's degrees in related fields, including internet marketing and innovation and entrepreneurship. To learn more about Full Sail's master's degree programs in business intelligence or any of their related programs, check out fullsail.edu/knowhow. And we thank Full Sail University for their support of Know How. Now, Brian, before we get to part 2 of how to turn your FreeNAS server into a Plex media server, I thought really quickly that we might cover a quick tip people have been asking for a while.
Right, and that's YouTube Center?
YouTube Center. Now, okay, this is one of those things. People say, well, we notice that you get a lot of videos from YouTube, but you don't screen capture. Yeah, it's stupid to screen capture, right?
Well, the thing I like to do is make mashups a lot of time, and during certain shows and stuff, I like to have access to a YouTube video right away. So I've downloaded Corgi videos and put my own music to it, or I've cut something spliced together. But this tool you're going to show us is an easy way of downloading YouTube videos.
Exactly, exactly. So if you go ahead and switch over to my screen, Alex, right now there is a GitHub, a repository for a project called the YouTube Center. This is just a script. You could use this on most browsers. I would suggest use it on Chrome. In my experience, it's the one that's least buggy. It's the one that typically works every time you want it to work. Very simple. You just go ahead and go to the Chrome and Opera extension and download it. Now, you're going to notice something when you download this. A lot of times, scripts will automatically install. If you go to actually at the bottom of the screen, it said, "I'm sorry, I can't install this script automatically." I think it's covered by the Know How bug, but down towards the bottom, it'll say extensions, apps, and themes can harm your computer. Are you sure you want to continue?
It sounds dangerous, Padre.
It sounds dangerous. It's really not. This script has been used by so many people. Now, the way you have to activate this is you go into the settings of Chrome. So here I am going to go down into settings, and you're going to find the extensions page. In the extensions page, you're going to see anything that's been loaded up. I've got Google Cast, but I've got it turned off because I'm not
using it.
Yeah, much. I've got Google Docs and Google Hangouts activated. What I want to do now is I want to go to my downloads, and in my downloads, you'll see I've got YouTube Center right here. Now, all I have to do is take youtubecenter.crx, this is the script file, drag it, bring it over to the settings window.
Oh, that's cool.
And drop it in.
Oh, I didn't know you could just drag them in there.
And it's going to ask me, are you sure you want to do this? I'm going to go ahead and add it. Okay, and that's it. Now, if I go to YouTube, here's the cool thing. Oops, sorry. Let's go to YouTube. Here's my panda. Oh. It's first going to say, hey, I just noticed that you added a new plugin. You want to do anything about it? And I'm saying, yeah, go ahead, go to settings. And in the settings for YouTube Center, you're going to see all the different things that you can do. For example, you can use Secure Protocol, of course. You can remove advertisements. Please do that. Please. Yes, please. And then all these other options are the things that the developers have heard that people want them to do. Now, you can really leave all these alone. If you want to get advanced, if you want to get crazy,
you can dig through these.
Absolutely. Go ahead and dig and find all the different ways that you can download things. But you really don't have to. Instead, let's do this. So we're going to go to youtube.com, and I'm going to, I don't know, how about this? Turn down for what? You've got that song stuck in my head. Now, if I click this, so let's pause it because I don't actually want it to play.
Right.
Notice
we'll
right
let the
here,
viewers watch that on their free time.
It gave me a new segment here. I can click download, and now I can choose what format I want the video to download
That's
in.
cool. And yeah, the ratio, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Exactly. So I can choose my resolution and I can choose the format. I typically want the highest quality format. In this case, it's 720p, 1280 by 720. If I click that, it's just going to go ahead and do it just like a standard file. It's going to download it to my computer. Now, something you're going to notice when you start downloading YouTube videos is their compression algorithm. In order to save space, it drops everything down to like 24 frames a second. It's like 23.9 frames a second. So, like for example, on the TriCaster would vomit on that. It hates it. It wants 29.9. You're going to have to drop this into an editor and make sure that you get the right frame rate for whatever you're doing.
Okay. Well, yeah, I would probably use Adobe Media Encoder or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. There's something simple. Something even iMovie will do it. It'll get you into the right format.
Okay.
Again, it's a really simple tool to use, and it's something that I've used on trips. So. There are several series that I like to watch on YouTube,
right?
And you know, it's really easy using YouTube Center to just download the episodes to my computer and I just play them back when I want to.
Yeah, because there's a few things that I've watched on YouTube that will get pulled down once they get super popular, and I might want to hang on to that and throw it on my NAS for a little while.
This is also exceptionally useful if you've got horrible connectivity. There's nothing worse than watching a YouTube video and then.
Do you see the little gray bar?
Right. So this way, download the whole thing. Yeah, it might take a little bit longer, but then you get the full view without having to worry about buffering.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
And the files aren't too big.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, like I could download that turn down for what? That's what, like a 4-minute video.
Yeah.
It'll probably be 60 to 120 megabytes.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's really nothing.
Very cool. That makes it really slick, and it also has repeat, resize aspect on that.
Yeah, everything. So yeah, exactly. It's a cool tool to have. Go ahead and download it, play around with it, and you're going to wonder how you ever did without it.
Well, if you see more Corgi videos on the TriCaster, you'll know how I got them.
You'll know where they came from. Now, we're going to go back in elbows deep into the Plex Media Server. Oh, that's not right.
Do I need to put gloves on?
That's bad. That's bad. No. When we left the Plex Media Server, we had just figured out how to grant the proper permissions, how to create the data sets, and load up your media. But now we need to know how to actually install and configure the Plex Media plugin so that we can stream our media anywhere we want.
With your share properly enabled and filled with content, we now need to install the Plex Media Server plugin. Make sure your FreeNAS is connected to the internet because it will need to download the plugin you select. Then click the Plugins tab on the main menu. You'll get a list of the available plugins in the FreeNAS database. Scroll down to Plex Media Server, select it, and click Install. You'll get a pop-up window asking you if you're sure you want to install the plugin. Click OK. Download and installation will take a while, but once that's done, click the Jails tab from the top menu. You'll see the Plex Media Server plugin in your jails list. Select the Plex Media Server jail and then click the Add Storage icon on the menu to the bottom of the screen. An Add Storage window will pop open. This is where you give the Plex plugin the location of the dataset you've created to hold your media. In the Source section, click Browse. Then navigate to the dataset you created for your media. In our example, I used root, mount, cranky volume, cranky media. You also need to tell Plex where it's going to store the index it makes of the media in your dataset. This is important because you don't want Plex to have to search through all your content every time it takes a look at your library. In the Destination section, click Browse, then navigate to Media. Click OK. That's where it's going to put your index. With the Plex Media Server initial configuration completed, we now need to turn it on. Click the Plugins tab on the main window, then click the Installed tab on the bar below the Plugins menu. You'll see a slider under Service Status that defaults to Off. Click the slider and it will turn the service on. To the left of the screen, you'll see a Plugins dropdown. Open it to see the Plex Media Server selection. Click Plex Media Server. A window named Plex Media Server will pop open. Check the box next to Disable Remote Security to make it easier for us to manage our Plex server. Then click OK. Once again, click the Plex Media Server drop-down on the left side of the screen. As before, a window named Plex Media Server will pop open, but this time notice that the word "here" in the sentence, "click here to access your Plex Media Server," is a link. Click here. You will now navigate to the Plex plugin user interface. The first thing you'll see is the End User License Agreement. Ignore it, like you've ignored every other EULA you've ever seen, and click Agree. Registering with Plex will give access to some features on the Plex website, but for now, click Skip, and skip again in the pop-up window. Your Plex Media Server needs a unique network name so it can be identified on your network. Our server is called Cranky Server. Click Next. You'll come to a screen subtitled Create Your Media Library. Click Add Section. The Add Section window will pop open asking you what type of media you want to add to your Plex Media Server. You can choose between movies, TV shows, music, photo, and home movies, but for simplicity we're going to use movies. The Add Section window will pop up. Remember when we were doing the initial configuration of the plugin and we had to tell Plex where to store the index? Well, here is where you tell the interface where that index can be found. Click Add Folder and browse to the media folder where we told Plex to store its index. Click Add. Next, click Save. Plex is now looking through that index and the folder that it indexes. In a few moments, it will be done with its search and you can see the refresh icon go static. Now click Next. You'll find yourself in the Channels page. Plex will suggest a few channels for you to add to your media server, but you can just skip this step. Of course, first adding the only channel that you must have on your Plex server. Scroll to the bottom and click Next. You should find yourself on the congratulations screen, unless you did something horribly wrong, in which case you're a bad person and should start over. In any case, I'm going to assume that you're a good person, and you should now click Done. You'll be able to see all the movies you added to your dataset. Clicking any of those movies will start the video in your player. You have now successfully set up the Plex Server plugin on your free NAS box. Treat yourself to an ice cream and relax. If you're lactose intolerant, who cares? It's not like you have to suffer through the bouts of horrible gas. Of course, you'll be adding more media to your media server. You don't have to go through this procedure every time you do. If you add more movies, go to the My Library section of the Plex interface and click Movies, More, and force refresh. Plex will re-index your dataset with all the movies you've just added. I would have told you that sooner, but I was busy passing ice cream gas down the halls of my rectory.
So, do you typically not read the EULAs?
Who reads? Have you ever read a EULA? Have you ever? You know, the worst ones are the ones that make you scroll to the bottom before it eliminates a grade. It's like, it's not going to make it any more likely I'm going to read this thing.
I think one of the best ones I saw was it showed how much time you spent on it. So it's like, did you really read this in 10.6 seconds?
Right. I can't remember what it was, but there was a EULA once for a beta. Yeah. And if you read through, like midway through the EULA, there was a link that if you clicked it, you could get like one of 100 free copies when it actually came out. And
wow.
like it took 3 weeks before anyone actually figured that out because no one reads the EULA ever.
It's a lot of words. Can't they just put a TDLR at the bottom?
I think so. That's actually what I do. I just
TLDR. Sorry. That's it. Too long. Didn't read.
Yeah. TDLR.
It's been a long day, Padre.
Lame. Right. I don't know. Okay, so that is just how you get Plex running up on your server. It's very easy to run a client if you've got something like a Roku. It's going to automatically take the Plex Media Server plugin. Right. If you've got an Android device, you can buy the plugin for about $5.
And then use it for your Chromecast.
Yeah. Now, in 3 weeks, for those people who haven't been able to figure out how to get the clients on their computers, we're going to run a quick tutorial. But please, try it out. Once you get your free NAS installed, once you get your Plex Media Server up, just try it. I mean, at the very least, from your desktop or your laptop, the clients are free, so you can stream that content to anything. The best part about this is if you poke a hole in your firewall so it can see the outside world, you'll be able to stream your media from home anywhere.
That's pretty cool.
Anywhere.
I know some people who have all The Simpsons downloaded and are able to stream it to their phone.
Yeah. Oh, Brian, I'd like to continue, but this has been a long episode. We've given the folks a lot. I know. And now, don't worry if you're freaked out over part 1 and part 2. We actually gave you all of the steps in the show notes. Where can they find our show notes, Brian?
They can find them at twit.tv/KH, where we keep all our old previous episodes and our show notes, which, you know, when you feel like your mind is melting from all the knowledge that is being crammed in there, you can always go there and just refresh. And we have links to the products that we use and stuff.
Exactly.
Last week's not a great example for show notes.
This is 2 weeks ago, Brian.
2 weeks.
Oh, is that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
Or whatever that was.
Time flies.
But feedback episodes are never great for show notes because, you know, there was nothing we really did except answer questions. But for this one, it was a 49-step process from start to finish on the free NAS.
Yeah,
so
you're going to want to check that out.
You're going to want to check the show notes. Also, we've got the link for YouTube Center in there. So if you want to check that out, download that to your computer. You can just go there rather than searching. Because right now, actually, you have to be careful when you download those scripts because there are some people like evil me who will take those scripts and change them so that they're malicious and then offer them up on the internet. You want to make sure you get it from the source, a reputable source.
Yeah, there's a lot of those YouTube converters, MP3 downloaders. Don't do that.
Now, once you've checked out our show notes, be sure to check out our show live. We tape here most weeks on Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific time, live.twit.tv. And as long as you're watching our show live, what else should they do?
They should check out our G Plus community where people post questions for show ideas and their projects, hopefully.
Yeah, just go to gplus.to/twitkh. Our community is 6,500 people and growing. And then the nice thing about it is we get people in there of all types of DIY celebrity, right? We've got people who are just starting. We got people who have been doing it for years. We got people who are makers. So if you've got a question, if you've got a project, if you've got something you want us to take a look at, join us and be part of the Know-It-All community.
One other thing I'd like to mention, if you watch a certain show and there's only one segment that you're interested in, you can always go to our YouTube page and watch the episodes there where I painstakingly put the time codes in so then you can skip to whatever you're interested in.
Absolutely, and he actually has to do that. So
I do that manually.
Which is why I like putting a lot of individual segments.
Yeah, I love it.
But also, if you don't like G+, you could find us on Twitter. I'm twitter.com/PadreSJ. That's at PadreSJ.
And I'm at cranky_hippo.
And until next time, I'm Father Robert Ballasare.
I'm Brian Burnett. Keep waiting for you to say, now that you know how.
You have to do your name first. And now that you know how,
go do it. Nailed it. 2 weeks in a row.